Today on Gun Talk Hunt, we're talking about something very important and something about preserving memories. It's taxidermy care with Mia Anstine. And if you're listening to this, you may want to head over to our YouTube page and catch the video version because we got some show and tell for you. Welcome in, Gun Talk Hunt fans. I'm your host, KJ, and today we've got a special taxidermy care SOS message for you guys. If you don't want to lose your trophies, you're going to want to hang in there and listen to this with Mia Anstine coming right up. But for now, Gun Talk Hunt is brought to you by Lockdown, Secure Your Lifestyle, Silencer Central, Silence Delivered, and Brownells, serious about firearms since 1939. And without further ado, Ms. Mia Anstine, how you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing good. So you reached out to me last week and said, "Hey, I just heard your podcast." So walk us through what brought you here.
Yeah. So I obviously I know you, so I reached out via text message because you were visiting about taxidermy. Whoever was on your show, I'm sorry, I'm not remembering the name now. I was driving when I was
Thomas
listening.
Allen.
Okay, so Thomas Allen, and he talked about losing a turkey beard, and that he had collections, and they were in the garage, and insects had gotten to them. And over the years, I have dealt with trauma with taxidermy and care, and trying to find out what to do and how to take care of it when you have an infestation. So I was like, if you ever want to talk about this, I can share my research with your listeners.
I do, because I mean, it's really important. And I made a big move. And I think one of the toughest things for me was moving with my taxidermy, because I was trying to be very cognizant of what, how they were packed, what was around them. But I was moving from like Oklahoma down to, Louisiana. So those two climates are way different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just that alone can cause a little shock to the system.
Yeah, that for sure can. Even in our house, we have lampshades that have like the drum material. I can't even think of what that is right now, but those in Colorado, we have very dry climate. And so I oil those once a month. You have to take care of them just like you would a drum. So that's just to show you the membrane inside of your taxidermy that is going to dry out if you move, and it's hard on them.
Before we start, I mean, how often, we'll get into the story of why taxidermy care is so important to you, but why, how often do you clean your taxidermy?
Well, as you know, I live on a ranch. I live on a dirt road. I have 4 dogs. We have animals outside. So my conditions might be different than someone else's conditions, but my house, I can dust. And then the next day you've got another layer. So I dust a lot. My taxidermy itself, you don't want to overcare on your taxidermy because you can cause it to fall apart as well. But I dust with a Swiffer duster like once a week on my taxidermy. And that's just the light, keep the dust off type of project.
Yeah, that's one thing that I try to do. I'm not a once a week duster. I for sure am not. You'll ask my wife, Julie. She definitely says I am not. But the care and maintenance of those, like the deep cleaning, how often do you do those?
The deep cleaning right now, I do every 3 to 6 months as far as a deep cleaning. I also do a spray to try to repel dust and do different things in between when I'm doing my weekly dusting. So a deep cleaning, maybe 6 months now.
Okay. Does that vary during seasons?
Yep, it definitely varies during seasons. It also varies depending how busy I am, but the deeper cleanings vary depending on what I see on my taxidermy. And I really pay close attention to it now because of things that I found before.
Okay, now walk us, because the story, because you've actually made a video about this and have some products that you use and utilize. And if you guys want to learn more, go to miaanstine.com and you can find that video there or on YouTube. So definitely check that video out. She outlines a bunch of products, and she'll probably say them here. But what's the story on what prompted the deep cleaning and regular maintenance of your taxidermy?
Yeah. So as I said, I kind of keep an eye out. I've always kept an eye out, but as I was dusting one of our mounts, it's a rug, a bearskin rug, and it's on the wall. It used to be by the entryway of our old house. And so it would get, I assumed, more dust, and it's black. So the dust showed up on there. We have blue heelers that have white fur. The dog hair would get on there. So I would dust that one, as I said, a weekly basis, just with a Swiffer duster to, get the dirt off. But what I was noticing on it were like cobweb type things. And I wasn't sure what that was from, but, I'd continually dust it, I'd vacuum it.
Right.
And I kept seeing these things. And one day as I was dusting, I saw this little, probably an eighth to a quarter of an inch long, little caterpillar worm looking thing on the bear rug. And I, just like your face right now, if you're listening on the podcast, KJ's eyes just about popped out because that's what my eyes did when I saw this. And my heart just kind of sank. We had another smaller bear pelt that wasn't a rug that was in another area of the house. And I would notice this dirt on the bench below it. And so immediately I took a video of this and I sent it to my taxidermist. And I'm like, what do you know what this is? And he's like, I have no idea. He didn't have any help, no advice. And so over the years, I'm a writer, and I've interviewed taxidermists and about how to dust, how to care. And that's where the Swiffer duster and, these light dustings, a small bristle brush on the end of your vacuum, no aggressive vacuuming. But I started researching more as to what is this caterpillar. Well, what it ended up is we had clothes moths in our house. And so that is how I just dove deep into how do I get rid of these without destroying this memory? Because to me, we can call them trophies, but most of my mounts are memories. So it's like they cost a lot of money and you want to preserve them and have them last, a lifetime.
Yeah, you definitely want to have them last a lifetime, and you're right. And I was going to get to that exact same point. You led me right into it. Is the memories that you create for yourself, for your future generations, and you want to maintain them because they signify a point in your life. And I think that's one of the reasons why like taxidermy care is so important, because you lose it, there's no coming back.
Right. And you can replace capes, but like a bearskin rug, you can't replace that. And now there are thin spots on that rug. And, there's stuff that I've noticed that over time you look at something every day. You look at, if Hank looks at me every day and I lost 5 pounds, he's not going to notice, and stuff like that. So you don't notice that your taxidermy's thinning until you start really paying attention. And then you realize.
Or you go to pick it up and all of a sudden then you look down and there's hair all down at the base of it and it's coming out of, because I've had that on a few capes of mine, which it's unfortunate because I was just saving them. I like capes or coyote skin I love, but man, once those mites and I didn't even think about the clothes moths.
Yeah. And I hadn't thought about the clothes moths either. I just thought bugs in general, like you said, mites, something like that. I've considered those before. And really when this first happened, I was pretty embarrassed because I was like, am I filthy? Is our house this dirty? That kind of thing. I know we live on a ranch and we deal with dust a lot.
Right.
But it wasn't until I started researching and trying to figure out what can I put on these furs? What can I do to clean these furs without hiring like a museum curator cleaning crew to come and clean them? Because I have friends that have, hundreds of mounts and they do hire a museum crew to come clean. But we couldn't really afford to do that. And like I said, I was pretty embarrassed. But then once I realized, and I've talked to other friends that didn't know about these things, I'm like, there's not a lot on the internet about how to care for the taxidermy, and it can happen to anybody. So that's why I wanted to reach out and share with your listeners.
Well, we're going to jump in here real quick from a word from our sponsors. Silencer Central, delivered right to your door, could be a Banish 30 or their new Banish 46. Silencer Central makes it easy to purchase a suppressor, and now the eForms process makes it even easier and more accessible to you guys right at home from the comforts of your couch. They send you the fingerprint kit, you do it there, you do your photo by yourself, you send it all in. They make a easy to ship package. Postage is already paid. You just drop it in the mail, send it to them. And with the eForms process, they're already receiving their first batch of verified suppressors in the mail via the eForms process, and it's under 90 days right now. Yes, you heard that correct. The eForms process verified deliveries under 90 days. So no more waiting a year like I did. But if you are interested, visit silencercentral.com. And Brownells has a new match precision optic. It's a 1:6 by 24. It's their MPO reticle. It's an illuminated donut. You heard that correctly. And I know all the officers on duty right now stopped and said, "Did you say donut?" Yes, I did, because that's exactly what the reticle is. No busy reticle for the match precision optics. The donut reticle allows your eye to naturally focus in and make your shots even out to 200 plus yards. It can be done if I can do it. They are assembled for Brownells in Japan, so you're getting the finest Japanese glass available. So go check those out at brownells.com. Okay, we're back with Mia Anstine. We're talking about taxidermy care. We just got in a bunch of Ryan's grandfathers, which is Grits Gresham, a bunch of his old African game. And just to go to show you what years and years of, they weren't in Ryan's hands, so years of neglect can do to trophies. We've got one right here, and it's a little bush buck, and this was mounted over in Africa, but you can see hair just piling out of this mount, very thin-skinned. The ears are starting to peel back, and you'll notice the eyes. And to me, there's a few points on a taxidermy mount that really need to pop. That really kind of brings that trophy to life. And it's going to be the eyes and the nose and even the inside of the ears. A good taxidermist will realize that and make those pop. But how do you recommend, getting those areas to really shine?
So the type of eyes that are used make a big difference. And that taxidermy mount, taxidermy has come a long way over the years.
Oh, yes.
And I really appreciate good taxidermy now. Like you said, the eyes, the nose, the ears, they definitely draw your attention first. And what I do for eyes is I just put a little Windex on the tip of a Q-tip, and I'll clean that off. If you don't want to get too much moisture in there. So you don't want you don't want to dunk your Q-tip. Just kind of spray it. I always start with a Swiffer duster or a microfiber cloth first.
Right.
So that you can, the Swiffers, they're like magnetic and they pull the dust off. So you want to try to get that off so you're not just shoving dirt into the corner of an eye. And so, regular dusting is helpful so you don't have that huge buildup, but also a good eye to start off with just makes a huge difference. And nowadays, if your taxidermist is asking, if you can afford this or this, the eyes are important. I mean, I would take off somewhere else to have good eyes. And the nose, in that video that I had sent you, I talked about Cowboy Magic. And that you can spray on just, 12 inches away and kind of just give a light mist, and then use a soft, like natural fiber bristle brush to kind of rub that on there. But you don't want to drill any oils in there or, no huge pressure on them because you can damage it.
Right. Yeah. Now for the eyes, what I've done is almost exactly like you, but what I do is I'll take one of those just little canisters of compressed air, and I'll hit that real quick just over those eyes before I apply, the Windex to them. And I'll do the same thing to the ears. I have
here, KJ.
Oh, what is that?
This is a reverse vacuum, so it's a blower. So the canisters of air, it seemed like that I was always out of air. And
Well,
so it
that's
was
way
like,
better than
okay,
what
I
I
go
got.
to use it and run out. And so I got that reverse vacuum, and it blows. And again, you want to make sure you don't get too close. But those
Right.
canisters with that spray nozzle, they get in a little better to the eye and nose detail than this blower does. This
Right.
blower is bigger, so it has a wider spray.
Right. And that's a good idea to use even for the capes and everything on here, is just to get a little air on them going.
Yeah. So I have a bull tar, and the way it's mounted, it's light and fluffy, and the fur is 8 to 10 inches long on that. So when I brush that, I don't want to knock the fur down. I don't want to damage it. And so that's the main one, that blower, I really can blow in there. And then I also have a porcupine, and that blower can blow without messing up the quills and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. That porcupine is probably one of the coolest mounts that you've got. What about the horns? What about the antlers on those?
So the antlers, and this is something I would love to know more if people have other ideas. But again, I always dust and stuff like that. Since we have a lot of dust in the area, I actually use furniture wipes. And these ones here, they're Wyman furniture wipes, and it's for wood. And that's something that I use, and only on occasion, like you're saying, that every 6 months cleaning. There are other brands, and I usually order these. Like we have said, Amazon is so easy. And I usually order on Amazon, like Old English wood furniture wipes, or this, just whatever's in stock is what I end up with. And those I can kind of get into the grooves if there's dust that hasn't been able to get blown or vacuumed off. And one thing I noticed with like Swiffers, they hang up on the antlers. So you end up with all these little, like, I don't know what you even call it, just the little fibers.
They're little dust bunnies, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because this one has some of them. This has just junk everywhere. He just picked these up yesterday. But even on these dark antlers, this is a bush buck. Even on the real dark antlers, you really want those to shine too. Armor All would be a good one to use on those.
Yeah. And that's something that has horns. And so there's a difference with the antlers and the horns. The horns have keratin. And so that's a fiber like hair. And so you need to, like I said, I've got my bull tar. We have a bighorn that over time that's going to actually deteriorate. So you want to keep that moist, just like I was talking about the skin of a drum.
Right.
So that's where those furniture wipes really started with the horns. And then I've noticed on antlers, when they start to look like dull, it'll bring the sheen back to them.
Yeah. And that's what I'll do. I'll do that with a lot of my European mounts, to maintain that shine of those antlers. Just go ahead, just hit them once every 6 months with like a little Armor All. Does a really good job.
Yeah. And I think if you did it more often than that, it's probably going to end up with a buildup. And then I don't know how the best process would be to get that off of there.
Yeah. Now, I may be putting you on the spot, and maybe you probably haven't had this happen to a lot of your mounts, but you see the skin starting to come away from the ears on this bush buck. And again, this is probably 40 plus years of nothing being done to this mount, so you might be able to catch it early. But do you have any tips on what to do if you start noticing damage like that?
If you start noticing damage, and that I don't know for sure. I mean, an old mount like that, you talked about having capes and that you like having those hides and stuff. You can buy capes and have your mounts redone.
Yeah.
And that is an option sometimes. If you're just noticing the damage, in that video that I sent you, I talked about cowboy magic, and that's something that we use when we have our horses in parades or if we're doing shows and stuff like that. And it's a sheen that's non-toxic, and so you can use it on live animals. But before your mounts are showing damage, you can use stuff like that to spray, and it repels dust, and it also will help the mount to keep it from drying out. Something that when you talking about moving your mounts from Oklahoma to Louisiana, the reverse move, like to go from humid to dry, you're going to experience more of that pulling away. And so what you kind of have to do is use humidifiers and try to keep a good climate in your house. And seems like a lot of work,
Yeah.
but it's helpful to just humans as well to have like a nice moderate climate. And I say that, but our house is dry as heck, you know. But I've noticed, because you'll watch, as I said, those lamp shades that have the leather on them,
right,
they'll crack. And if I use a humidifier and stop, they crack. So
No
you have to
kidding.
have a good, steady climate in your home.
Man, that's crazy. And you do mention like how far taxidermy has come. On this mount, you can actually, so that dark line that you're seeing, and if you're listening, I'm sorry you can't see it, but I'll describe it. It's running from the base of its head all the way down its back. That is the stitching. And it is come exposed because of damage to the hide and years of wear. We're going to jump in here, and I'm going to put me on the spot as we come back, but we're going to talk about draws that are coming up and what people need to do to get ready for next year's high country hunt. Crimson Trace, they have a new rig out. It's the Rapid Illumination Grip. That's a 500 peak lumen weapon light, and that's a lot of light spread out over the darkness. And if you're a hog hunter, this would be a great option for you. There are places where thermal and night vision just do not work. And what I'm talking about are really high grasses or fields, like rice fields that have grown up. The night vision will blow out. It'll blow out your vision. So a weapons light comes in very handy for you. So it comes with 2 rechargeable batteries that last for 1 hour at peak lumen output, and output can be adjusted with the left or right side buttons and an optional remote switch. And of course, it's backed by Crimson Trace's product lifetime warranty. Go find out more at crimsontrace.com. And lockdown. Okay, so I'm in this whole reloading phase right now, and I'm glad I'm in it because, man, with today's climate, it's awful. But I'm going to be honest with you. I am not the most organized reloader, and Lockdown has come up with a product that would help me organize my lifestyle. It would organize my workbench, and it's called Secure Walls. The Secure Wall organization products help turn any wall into a gun room or clean area, because I've got stuff all over my workbench, and it would be nice to pop those up in front of me on the wall. But they're easy to configure. The secure wall options are an inexpensive way to organize firearms, magazines, and gear with wall panels, handgun and long gun hangers, pegs, racks, shelves, and baskets. So you see where I'm going with this. I can get myself more organized and have tools at my disposal right in front of my eyes. Makes it easy. Use code GUNTALK10 for 10% off your entire purchase. Go to lockdown.com to learn more. All right, we're back with Mia Anstine of Mia Outdoors. If you are not subscribed to her stuff, I highly recommend it. She's got a great newsletter. It keeps you up to date on, everything outdoors. You've got a ton of reviews on there. Your recent one was really good about different attachments for your grinder. Which I enjoyed that one because I'm always looking on how to process meat and stuff like that and do it myself. But that was a really good one.
Well, and you are putting me on the spot because wasn't sure. I thought you were going to want to talk about what unit you should apply for in Colorado.
Well, I would talk about that, but really,
we've talked about that before, so they can go back and find that.
They can go back and listen to that. But what I really kind of wanted to talk about, preparedness for, what people should be doing now. Most draws have not been announced yet, so you don't know if you've been drawn or not. A lot of over-the-counter tags. What should people be doing right now to prepare?
Right now to prepare for a fall hunt? Well, you want to obviously consider that you're going to have food in the end, I hope.
Yes.
So that grinder attachment, we have an industrial grinder, and I shot a bobcat, and in Colorado, they're potentially going to put a ballot measure to ban bobcat hunting. And we don't know because we haven't seen it. And actually, as the date is today, that may not come about. But so I wanted to see if I could actually eat bobcat, and you can make it taste good. So that's in a future video. But that's where this small grinder attachment was for turkey hunting. I have a recipe for turkey that I've been working on. And so right now you can be turkey hunting, which is also scouting. And our turkey season starts in just a couple weeks, but that's something to get out and get in shape is, as I told you before you came to hunt, the biggest thing in Colorado is get in shape before you come.
Yes.
Because it's a workout to hunt. But other than that, getting prepared, you can start looking at what kind of harvest rates there are in the areas you're going to hunt. And that's regardless of which state. You can start doing that. Some of the draw deadlines have already passed. Colorado's is, it'll end on the first Tuesday in April. So I believe that's the 3rd or 4th. But so that's the deadline, which leads me to like, oh gosh, I need to get my applications in because I haven't done that yet.
You haven't done that yet? Man, yeah. I think I was like in the first few days I had applied.
Yeah.
But
we always know what we're going to apply for. It's just sitting down at the computer and doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that I learned last year in going out and hunting with you and Hank is I thought I prepared really well for it. I think all my packing and everything is spot on. But that first day, I don't know what it was, but it just obliterated my legs and lungs. And I was rucking. I think I was doing, 50-pound ruck for 3.5 to 4 miles a day. And I started in May. So I still wasn't ready. I think this year I'm going to hit the Stairmaster with the ruck. I think that'll benefit me a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think you can be in shape, but it's helpful to arrive early so that your body has a time to acclimate to the elevation first. And that's why we tried to kind of just take it easy that first afternoon. And you and I ended up taking a bigger hike than we had planned, but also the down timber with all the beetle kill in Colorado is just insane. So like you said, with your ruck, that's something that if you can climb over the timber, holding your bow and have your backpack on, that's quite a workout, but your body also was kind of in shock because you have less oxygen, going from Louisiana to, we were at like 9,000, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a big ask of your body, no matter what shape you're in. So if you can go a day or two early and kind of acclimate and then start hiking, because like you said, the first day that was difficult. And then your body's like, oh, okay, this is all right. And it starts going. And the next few days were a lot better.
Right. I think and we never counted it, and I have said this on I think one of our recent podcasts is one of the things that I would change is I would get my heart rate up and then make a shot. Just take one shot and then go get my heart rate up and then make a shot, because there were times when I was like, if an elk showed up right now, I don't think I could shoot, because my heart was going, my limbs were shaking. So I think that's one thing that, they say practice how you hunt, and, don't only shoot off of a bench, shoot kneeling, shoot standing, shoot off of sticks, shoot off of a bipod, shoot every way possible that you might encounter during your hunt. I think I would prepare a little bit better in that aspect.
Yeah. And that's something that I suggest to a lot of people. I've actually done seminars about shooting under stress, and those generally are geared more toward rifle than archery. But Swarovski, they took us to a hunting event in Italy. And in that, basically, we had a competition, and it escalated over the trip. We started out, I'm the only American there. A lot of them didn't speak English. There were people from all over Europe. And so just being there and being the only American, and I was one of 4 women, so I wasn't the only woman. And I'm usually not intimidated by men anyways.
No.
But being in a strange area is, 100 degrees. It just crazy hot. So you're under stress anyways. I did have time to get over jet lag, but they start out, you're shooting 100 yards, and then you're shooting timed, then you're shooting, they tell you shoot target 6, 1, 5, and they just tell you, so you have to find these and timed. Then you're shooting against somebody. And then the next day they threw in, you're doing a foot race, and then you're going down on your belly and you're shooting. In the final competition, you're racing against someone else. Okay. And I don't know if I've ever told you, but I don't like to run. I run like a dump truck with a flat tire. I'm not, I'm not a good sprinter. I'll usually only run if something's chasing me or if I'm chasing something to shoot.
Right.
So I do this race. Compared to the other girls, I was quite a bit older. And the one girl, she actually does cross country skiing, and she's a runner, and all the ladies were great shots. But
right.
So we do this race, and she got second place. The guy that got first place, like, you run on your belly, you have to shoot 100-yard target first. Then they tell you, like, shoot target 4, shoot target 3. And so you don't know, and you're having to adjust your turrets in between shots.
Oh,
so
geez.
The guy that got first place, he just would slam the bolt, slam, shoot. He wasn't hitting his targets. He hit his first target, and the rest he didn't shoot, but he won because they didn't take into account that somebody would, I call that cheating. I mean,
yeah, that's 100% cheating.
At least try to hit your target.
Right.
But the three of us girls, like, were in the top. I took 5th place.
No kidding.
And what they did during that competition, though, is we had a pulse monitor on our wrists. And the minute that the range went hot, boom, your pulse went up. Then, when people started running and racing, boom, your pulse went up. Then when I was on deck, again, your pulse goes up.
Jumped.
Of course, when I'm running, because I'm not a runner, my pulse obviously went up. But what they said, they took pictures of my monitor while I was shooting, and boom, it was just like totally, I was in my zone.
Really?
And I was telling Hank, and I've told other people during my seminars, is being in Italy, being among all these people I didn't know, that was my comfortable spot, was looking at those targets. I was the only shooter that hit all of my targets.
Oh,
and
really? So you
that's
won.
Just an idea of
That's
things
what
you
I hear.
can do to challenge yourself so you can shoot under stress, is do a race with a friend, or something with archery is have somebody, you hold it full draw and have, your boys tell you when to shoot, or, sprint, run, get there, shoot.
Yeah. Do the dreaded burpees and then shoot.
Yes.
Yeah. Or just get really hot in the Louisiana humidity and then try to shoot under a wall of sweat.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. Mia, thanks for joining. Tell everybody where they can go find out more from you and all your awesome material and content.
So you can find me at miaanstine.com, or on social media. I'm on most popular platforms, just Mia Anstine. And thank you for having me again. I hope that if your listeners have tips for taxidermy, that they'll share them as well.
Yeah. Reach out to me. If you've got anything else, reach out to me at kj@guntalk.com. Or if you have any future topics that you want to hear us cover, reach out to kj@guntalk.com, and we will see you guys later. Always remember, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.